Hello, Leonardo Cornejo here with another video, and today I want to talk about something this that many people have been talking about, and including Raging Golden Eagle, who I see as a role model, and that's anime companies making what is called woke, that is like these things with Marxist ideology and all that stuff, woke anime, and how they will notice it fails and then they will never do it again. I don't think so. If they repeat the mistake, I don't think they will learn from it, because they already did. Well, not fully woke, but in fact, Raging Golden Eagle had a video about it. I don't know if he deleted it. This anime called The Stars Align, which was successful according to some fake news outlets, but it wasn't successful at all. It was cancelled halfway through its season. There was a certain amount of how do I say it, of episodes planned, but they had to cancel it because nobody fucking liked. Nobody liked it in Japan. Nobody watched it in the US, and it failed. It didn't make enough sales. It didn't make enough ratings to get the rest of the season. It was a failure of an anime. It was one of those sports melodrama anime which only girls like normally, and in this case, not even girls, because it really had such a low viewership. It was cancelled before the season ended. It was halfway through the season and it was cancelled. That's a really bad thing when it comes to anime. When it comes to anime, if it gets cancelled halfway through the season, since they plan it in a way that a season closes with some sort of ending to the story. It's not as in America, where it is cancelled halfway through, and that's because they decided to not renew it or something like that. Now in Japan it's a lot worse. And I'm saying it was cancelled halfway through the season, and there is no news of it continuing. In fact, many of these fake news outlets which called it a success began to promote it after it was cancelled, expecting it to recover. But it didn't, because people don't like that. People didn't like it, so it never had a chance of recovering. And here's the funny part. It was a failure, no question. There is no other way around. There is no way to pretend otherwise. And the proof is in another anime, which is called The Big O. This anime, if you have ever heard of it, was a mecha anime with a very Western style. No joke. It had a very Western style, with some tones of film noir, and it was, according to their creators, heavily inspired by Batman. It was a failure in Japan. It wasn't good enough in Japan to produce another season. That's it. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't awful. It just wasn't good enough to make it to complete the series. People in Japan didn't enjoy it enough. They didn't like it enough, so they had to cancel it. That's where it gets interesting. They had to cancel it in Japan, and they had no expectations of it recovering. They expected it to go into oblivion, but that's where it gets exciting, and that's where it proves the problem is not Japan, and it's not America. It's that the Stars Align sucked, because the Big O was completed. It had a complete series because people in America loved it. No joke. Americans saved that anime. It was so how do I say it? So of their preference in America, Americans liked it so much that they that they managed to save it on their own. America liked the Vigo so much, the studio producing it decided to produce the rest of the series for America only. They didn't produce for they didn't produce for Japan. In fact, it didn't release in Japan. It just wasn't popular enough to release in Japan. So they kind of gave up on it in Japan entirely. In America, it sold so well. It was so popular among anime watchers in America. Not only it was a success, not only it recovered from the failure it had in Japan, it even managed to influence Japanese people to start recognizing it as a cult classic later on. It was the most unsuccessful mecha anime in Japan, and the most successful mecha anime in America. That's where it gets even funnier and even worse. Stars Align was such a fucking failure, and I'm cursing because it is even bothersome. Was such a fucking failure. Nobody in Japan, nobody in America could save it. Even after all those failed attempts at persuading users, at persuading the audience of saving it, they couldn't. They just couldn't save it. That thing faded away into oblivion on its own. In fact, if you are watching this, you probably are like, what is Stars Align? You haven't heard of it. You haven't watched it. And it wasn't even that woke. It wasn't even that influenced by Western sensibilities, as they call it. It was just that it wasn't good enough. It was just that it was, in fact, a thing nobody liked. Because it was one of those melodrama anime. And with the, how can I say it, fatal flaw of having all this stuff about gender identity and all that stuff. It wasn't even that woke. I repeat, it wasn't even that woke. It was, in fact, it was just that. There was this gender identity stuff. People didn't like it. People didn't find it entertaining, and that part was seen as the preachy. That's one of the things that made it fail. The people watching it found it preachy. They found it annoying. They didn't like that part. And it was basically the only thing that made it different from any other sports melodrama. And that's the other problem. How can you make it interesting when it is just the same? You got Prince of Tennis and you got all this sports melodrama. Prince of Tennis, Yuri on Ice, Dear Boys, Kuroko no Basket, and yeah, I know a lot of them, and I have watched most of them, except for Yuri on Ice and Kuroko no Basket. I have watched several sports melodrama, in part because I have a sister, and in part because I really found them funny. The characters are funny. In this case, they had nothing. Free is another one which is very popular with girls. This one had no attention, not even from girls, who are the actual target demographic to that anime. It failed. Nobody liked it. Nobody found it entertaining enough. And nobody wanted to save it. Unlike the Vigo, which got saved by demand of American audience, who wanted the end, who wanted the rest of the series, who wanted closure. In this case, no one wanted the end of the season. Not even the end of the season. Nobody cared enough about it. Its only saving grace was the whole gender identity thing. It was the only new thing it provided to a flooded market of a sports melodrama anime. It provided nothing new beyond that. And that specific thing which made it unique didn't favor it at all. It didn't sell. Nobody fucking liked it. I don't think Japan will learn the lesson with that though. I think they will expect it to fail because it was a sports melodrama in a flooded market. And they will, any company, my bet is on Kyoto Animation in fact, will make an anime so fucking woke, it will be cancelled after 3 episodes. And they will repeat the mistake, thinking it was something else. Because there is a problem. In Japan, they do cancel things if they fail because of the money. They are in entertainment for the money, not for propaganda. Propaganda is not their goal. But if they decide to ignore the cause of the failure, they will pin the blame on something else. They will say, no, it was because it failed because it was a slice of life. It failed because it was a shonen anime and people who watch it don't like that kind of stuff. They will never say, right. People here in Japan and people even in America are tired of all this alphabet soup stuff, are tired of feminism, are tired of all this stuff, so that's why it failed. They will never admit it was that if they are already holding those views. Because they don't admit it in the West. Because they always blame something else here too. It was the pandemic. It was the lockdowns. It was misogynistic men. It was that the white women don't like it. They blame something else all the time. What makes you think these people who are activists will recognize it was their fucking activism which ruined it? When they always blame something else. And I don't think in Japan it will be so different. The only difference is the studios, the companies which insist on doing that, will see their projects cancelled, will see their projects fail, and the people who were causing it will eventually get fired, blacklisted, or try to build their own studio and fail. And there will be restructurings, and there will be mass firings, and there will be all this corporate drama, and in the end, the industry won't change, and the industry will keep producing the same generic stuff you already watch and like Kimetsu no Yaiba, which you might say, but it is great. Yeah, it is great. It is also generic. It's another shonen anime. My Hero Academia, another shonen anime, and they will keep producing those, and they will let those failures, like Stars Align, pass through into oblivion without much change, without realizing it was the activism. They will think it was just a failure of that individual show. They will never realize or admit it was the activism. So we need to gatekeep the activists from the industry. Simple as that. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Still on Flame, Book 1 of the Guilds of Avalanche series is available on Amazon. If you like fluffy world-building protagonists and Japanese light novels, follow the link below to check it out.